Yeah. We saw that. I mean, I forget her surname, but Jenny Lee, the lady who left the Tess Holiday crowd 2 years ago, she realised she was unhealthy and she was having her own health complications. So she made an effort to go, you know what, I worship Tess Holiday and that whole environment, but the doctor's given me that kind of face. We had that kind of conversation. So she starts making the different social media posts. I'm now going to the gym. I'm now eating like this. And she received a mountain of abuse.
Yeah.
From that whole community. How dare you, blah, blah, blah. What, are you trying to say that we're all bad people? No, but I know that I'm going to have a shorter lifespan unless I change it.
Yeah.
You know, and there was no need for that. If that's a genuine happy collective, again, Anna Roberts brought up this point as well as a few other people, if you're happy with who you are, you don't care what other people are because you're happy. If you're living a lifestyle that you're really content with, you can't be shamed about it. So fat shaming doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if you're like, oh, you know, I can't travel on a plane because I've got to buy 2 seats, that's fat shaming. No, it's physics.
Yeah, yeah.
If you physically require double the space to sit down that I do, you need 2 seats. That's not the airline making your life miserable. You know, that's just the reality of the situation. And unfortunately, it creates this whole, we think you're being horrible. No, we're not. But if we say logical arguments, we'll be the ones slacked off. But everyone likes a poke, the first thing of victimhood, given any chance these days.
100%.
Like, oh, they're being, you know, somehow oppressed. Let's all fire our, you know, abusive energies this morning on Twitter and Instagram and everything else at the person who's stating fact. And it comes to a point where I don't comment on half the things I would like to.
Yeah, yeah. No,
because I can't be bothered with the engagement. You know, it's like, you know, I'll deal with it in my world. I've got new clients coming to me all the time because they're like, you won't bullshit me and you'll tell me how it is.
Yeah.
Cool, okay.
That's
you know, I've got a guy online as a client now who's a few weeks in, who is going to be a real struggle because of the lifestyle he's led for 20, 30 years. But fortunately, he knows that. You know, and our journey for the first few months is going to be, we've just got to get you moving, literally.
That's
you know,
basics,
and get you content with the concept of moving around your home rather than sitting in a chair 12 hours a day. It's little things like that, changing how you eat, and go from there. But fortunately, he's moved away from his own culture, which isn't one of exercise, and it is one of excess food, to go, I've got to address this, because he had the conversation with the doctor.
Right.
Lose this weight, or you're going to die.
Wow. Yeah.
Apparently, the conversation was that blunt.
Wow.
You're going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
And I would like to think the world would grow up, at least in this regard. At least in this regard. Because you know what, as you and I talked about the last time, Instagram is not the basis for self-image. It really is not.
No.
You know, I mean, with the handstand thing, if you go back, you personally, not anyone else watches this, look at my posts over the last week. I have made a point for the Instagram stories, if not the main posts, of every balls up that I do, handstands, I put online.
Yeah.
And go, look, this is the failures and the fuck ups and the not quite there reps. So you can see that I go through the same stuff you do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, and that's the world of someone who's not trying to impress you with the falsehoods. I mean, you were never that person. I've never been that person.
Yeah.
You know, I did a 20-minute circuit with a weight vest on yesterday after 40 minutes of handstand drills and strength work, and the other coach in the gym think I'm a psycho. Like, you've just been doing what, and now you're going to run around with a 20-kilo weight vest? Yes, I know, but, you know.
It's cool. Yeah. Love that.
I will say, I wish we'd all be a bit more grown up about the facts of health.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
The idea of, yes, you can have literally your cake and eat it, but guess what? You can't have it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that, Rich. I definitely think we have the whole, globally, as a global state, we have almost this, I mean, like, I'm a very highly sensitive person. I absorb people's stresses very easily. I'm very empathic. It's a neurobiological thing. I mean, I can't change it. It's who I am. However, there's this kind of almost pathological sensitivity where we've now, where this extreme sensitivity, where it's almost like defensiveness more than sensitivity, elevates beyond facts and rationality and research, and it's like, this is ridiculous. You know, I mean, I'm not afraid to say this, but even when the Black Lives Matter thing was happening, the level of research I was reading, because everyone was just saying, well, it's okay, people are allowed to loot and riot and break into people's stores and businesses, family-run ventures and stuff like this, and it's absolutely fine. You don't understand how hard it's been. And I'm like, what? This is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. That's ridiculous.
And then it's like, you don't understand the anger and the rage because you've never been I never will be a black man, but
no.
I can definitely look at research and say, well, what's exactly gone on? And there were so many little things and so many loopholes in the research. I mean, one of the things I'd found was, an interesting one I'd found towards the end was, in some departments, I think it was a police department in Philadelphia, that a black man was more likely to be mistakenly shot by a black man than a white officer shooting a black man. Like all these little things that we think this
the nuance gets forgotten about in terms of I can scream louder than anyone else trying to argue my point, therefore I'm going to win.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
and it is unfortunate, but that's. I try to remember. I think it was a guy called Luis J. Gomez, and don't go putting his material on your social media because you'll get too much shit for it.
Yeah.
But he very much says what he thinks all the time, no matter what. But he put up a thing a while back, which was we should switch off social media for a couple of months. Everyone gets so much information so quickly, all aimed at eliciting a response immediately without thought or context, and it isn't good for us.
Yeah.
It's not how our brains think.
No.
Normally, naturally. You're supposed to take in information, absorb it, process it, and you utilize it or not going forward.
Yeah.
We don't work at a constant, information, because it's too much.
Yeah. Almost
everything that gets put out there these days when it comes to health and exercise and politics, although politics is merging itself into health, bizarrely.
Yeah.
It's structured in a way whoever produces it wants to elicit an immediate reaction. You mentioned the last time we talked about how do I come up with the titles and headings for the videos I put on YouTube. And I don't go for the whole clickbait mindset of, I could put trainer insults fat acceptance and get 500,000 clicks in 6 months. Because people are like, how dare he say this? Ah! But if I put that up there, a genuine comment of discussing the dangers of 50% body fat, that'll probably get the odd student of physiology having a read of it, because that's very clearly a fact-based post, or a fact-based video, which is far more likely I would do the second one, not the first one.
Yeah.
Because I'm not after lots of angry clicks on my videos going, you what? Ah! No, I don't have the need to want that in my life. That's why I think I probably can never be an actor, because the amount of bullshit you'd have to jump over and through and round. Oh no, screw it.
Oh,
the reward wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah, love that, Rich. So true as well. It's unbelievably unbeknownst to me. Like I said, this elevation of like extreme sensitivity over facts and studies and research, and it just goes to show. I mean, like I had put something very briefly after I think one of the statue monuments in London had been dismantled, and it was. And I had said something, if we just all changed our behaviour and our view of, cultures and more accepting of cultures, we would all be in a better place. And that even got misconstrued as me being completely racist. I'm just like, oh God.
Well, people don't want to view information in its genuine intention. It's a case of, I have a preconceived agenda, and through that, I am going to process and filter what you've said or written. And it's still going to fuel my agenda. It's not a case of, I thought this, and holy shit, you know what? Maybe I wasn't right, maybe I was, but I'm going to listen to your point of view, and I'll inform my own opinions based on that. That's the rarity, not the commonplace.
Yeah.
As it should be. I mean, very sadly, if you go and look on YouTube at the Oxford University debates, that looks like you're looking at an endangered species. That's a group of people listening to someone who's very educated on whatever topic, talking at length about that topic, and then asking questions from an audience who's prepared to sit there, even if they disagree about a point or politics or a historical context, and listen and go, okay, you said that, but what about from this point of view? That shouldn't be a rarity, but unfortunately I very much doubt that's the kind of thing that's common in an educational mindset these days.
Yeah.
It's a case of, right, okay, this source, that source, who produced them, and what was their intent. That conversation doesn't get had very often. It doesn't get had by people when they view things themselves on our phones.
Yeah.
You know, if you look through your feed, the amount of shit I get on this that I go, Instagram, not interested. Why? Not relevant. And I just do it all of the time. You know, I don't need to see what some 25-year-old in a thong is doing with herself and calling it exercise, because it doesn't really affect my world.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Just kind of alluding to what you just said then, Rich, it's interesting. I was watching the documentary by Metallica called Some Kind of Monster. And I've never seen it I've seen it advertised and never actually watched it. And through the interviews, it seemed like there's constant rowing and stuff like this. And to be honest, when I watched it, I was like, this is so civil. They were like, yeah, how do you feel about it? And they have an actual psychotherapist actually coordinating it all. I thought, this is so perfect. Like, it's like, how do you feel about that law? I said, well, actually, I feel this way. James, how do you... And they say, oh, it's the worst we've ever been in. It's actually, it's so civil in comparison to, like, you know, today's age, where it is literally all guns blazing. The amount of times as well where when I've had an argument with someone, and, well, I say an argument, I would say an organised debate, where I remember one time getting in a massive debate with one of my old flatmates about milk, even to this extent. And I remember doing a post on it many years ago now, looking at all the research and actually looking at, is it beneficial, is it not? Mm-hmm. And specifically looking at lactose intolerance versus cow milk allergy. A lot of people think they're kind of one and one of the same. And I remember just saying, well, this is actually what the research says. And this person, because of the preconceived notion of having, like you just said, an agenda, kind of selectively biased everything I was saying and just heard that it could be healthy and just like, absolutely not. And it's just such like this low IQ form of like just poor understanding. Just I'm not going to listen to anything you've just said on the research, even though it is true. I'll just listen to the parts I want to. And what I find comfortable. Yeah, it's really
that was evident with the documentary on Netflix last year, Game Changers.
Oh yeah,
about how everything should be vegan. Right, when you consider that the large pushing force behind that documentary was James Cameron, who holds a massive share in a vegan protein supplement business whose corporate message wants to be the single biggest supplier in the entire US. So of course he has a vested interest in a documentary saying to everybody, "Hey, get vegan. It's the best way to live."
Yeah.
No, I mean, and I get the people they're going to speak to about that have their own reasons for doing that. Some of it will be just genuine preference. Some of it will be an agenda. But then you have the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger on that program talking about how it's the better way to go. It's the healthiest way. This is a guy who made his entire foundation of his career on a colossal animal-based protein intake.
Yeah.
Saying that veganism is the best way to live. Maybe for you, because you're in your 70s.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the easiest way for you to get the nutrition you need and nothing else, but it's more than a little disingenuous to say this is how everyone should live when you know you're only saying it because Cameron's gone, here's $10 million or whatever he was paid. Talk in my favour on this, will you?
Yeah,
you know,
there was actually a bit of a craze for a bit. Yeah, I mean, I did actually dabble in the vegan diet for a little bit because my girlfriend is more, I would argue, a flexitarian where she'll eat meat in moderation and try and go for more, vegan substitutes and stuff like this. And because she has an extreme reaction to dairy and she does have a love for animals, it kind of makes sense for her to follow a more vegan diet, which is because I think you can even do a vegan diet very, very well. I think most people who try... I mean, this is just my opinion. I don't know. I haven't looked at any research on this, but I think a vegan diet can be very alluring for someone who has eating disordered tendencies because you're focusing on total eliminations of food groups and this and that, and it can become quite neurotic. And I think in the research they call it an unplanned vegan diet, where you just basically take all the crap you're eating now and then just remove the protein, and then you have this overabundance of carbohydrate, loads of fat. You haven't really changed very much. But if you do plan it very well and you do get enough protein, it can actually be quite a beneficial diet. But I think seeing that is far and far between. Usually most people I've seen just either go too low on calories, eating nothing but vegetables, or on the extreme end, they don't really... I mean, you couldn't classify an Oreo as vegan and stuff like this, which my girlfriend's also been very guilty of. There's little loopholes in it where you can say it's... Because essentially sugar's vegan. So, it gets a little bit wishy-washy, so...
Oreos, by the way, taste best when they've been in the freezer.
Oh, okay. Wow. I didn't know that.
Because they don't freeze, but they taste nicer.
Oh, right.
There you go. Mr. Health Professional just told you that.
Yeah, I actually love Oreo. I love the double stuffed Oreos. Like, yeah. I'll have to try that, Rich. Yeah, nice little tip moving forward.
I got told that a while back. I used to have believe it or not, I used to have a racing driver as a temporary housemate. Whenever he was in the country, he used to stay with me.
That's cool.
And it's something that his wife had told him. And I was like, bollocks. What difference does that make? And then he bought a pack and stuck them in the freezer. I was like, hey, these do taste better. Ah, great.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'll have to give that a go. It's interesting because I think a lot of people would probably presume, because we're in the health and fitness industry, and just to answer what we were talking about before, I think I will still do personal training. It's just part of who I am. I'll probably do it mainly online. I think because of doing my masters coming up now, when I did it previously when I was doing my bachelor's, it was almost like a full-time job. It was just overnight sessions in the library and stuff like this. It was just mental. I remember actually getting shingles. I was that stressed out. I'd done so much work. I just kind of think we're on a similar path where we just do everything balls to the walls, and it's just like thankfully for my fiance actually brings a little bit, kind of changes gears for me and says, you need to do this, you need to take 5 minutes, and I'm just like, no, we need to like change the world now. And but just before, alluding to what we were saying about, you know, even though we are health professionals, I mean, I had a slice of pizza before. It's hardly the end of the world, left over from yesterday, but it was a slice of pizza. It wasn't, you know, an extra large with stuffed crust, and then I had ice cream. It's, you know, being moderate, and it's almost like a lost art form. I think that with most things in nutrition, I think actually, to be honest, most people who actually promote quite healthy eating actually promote disordered eating.
Yes,
you know,
I very much agree with that.
Yeah, and if not promote orthorexia, which is this neurotic belief that there's this kind of perfect diet out there and this chronic perfectionism with your nutrition, it's almost counterproductive. This, you know, it's almost with the health and fitness industry, it can be a neurotic breeding ground for people with very OCD, compulsive, disordered tendencies, and it's very easy to fall into that trap. And I always call it like almost like a paralysis frame, like all your decisions get based on like shame, guilt, fear, confusion, self-hatred. And that this is just not healthy. You know, if people would just learn to be more moderate. I remember there's a amount of times someone said, well, what's moderation, Josh? Like, you know what I mean? What's that? Well, people say that, and it's like a kind of tongue-in-cheek comment, but, you know, it does go to show it's having somewhat of just kind of a flexible restraint that you can have it, but it's just, like you were saying before, Rich, it might not be how much you want, but you can definitely have it.